Tonight, in some of the latest developments emerging from the BRICS summit, 6 new countries invited to join and have been accepted to join, and that acceptance will go live from the beginning of next year. Argentina, Egypt, amongst the countries included is Iran. So let's talk about what's in this new arrangement for Iran, and we're joined by Islamic Center for Africa Director Seyed Hoseini. Seyed, salam and welcome to the studio. Khosh Amadid.
It's a pleasure.
Shab khair.
So
nice
you
to have
remember
you
your
us.
history. Great.
Yes. Let's start then. You traveled to this country with President Ibrahim Raisi, who is the president of Iran. And these announcements today have caused massive headlines in terms of the strength and to the muscle of BRICS as these countries have been included, increasing the representation in the global GDP up to a level of 37%. So it's become quite muscular. What is in this acceptance for Iran? What is in this inclusion for Iran?
Well, first I have to say congratulations to South Africa for hosting such a great summit, and also to the world for experiencing the BRICS and the birth of new economic era and the turning point for the de-dollarization age, that the whole economy of the world are going to be released from the prison and imprisonment of the dollar. Well, Iran is situated in a very strategic point in the Middle East, in the South Asia. And in that area, Iran can facilitate India and Russia to be connected through north-south corridor, which is a land direction which it can connect the two countries from that side. And then it can connect China to Persian Gulf, and from Persian Gulf it can connect to South Africa, connect the rest of the world. So it is situated in a very strategic point that all BRICS countries needs Iran for expansion, for reaching to the rest of the world, and that can be the main contribution of Iran. Iran is a country that was calling for de-dollarization for ages, but it was not heard by the other nations. But recently, when the whole world says enough is enough of what America does, after 44 years of being under the sanction, it is a new breathing area for Iran, becoming a member of BRICS, which gives a lot of access to Iran to outreach to the world global economy. For example, and I have to tell you that the end of the dollar, it's not only we have to celebrate the end of dollar, but the same is with IMF, with the World Bank, with the rest of the things
Seyed Hoseini, let me come in on that point. We've heard our finance minister, for example, and other people say the de-dollarization debate is really secondary and it's on the outer circle. Right now, it is around the modalities and the practicalities of trading in local currencies. Yeah. And of course, there are a number of challenges with that. There is a historical reason why Iran wants to live in a de-dollarized market, based on the history that you share with Western countries. But the reality is that it might not become a reality tomorrow or even within the next few years.
Well, true, every single process in the world is not an overnight turning point, but at the end of the day, at least the new era has started. And Iran did not even need it for, Iran just presently exports its oil, something like today the Minister of Oil was saying to me 2.4 million barrels of oil per day Iran is exporting to the rest of the world, while Iran is under sanction. But Iran is under the sanction of only one country. It's not under sanction of United Nations. That's something that the world should know. And a lot of people of the world are trying to work with Iran, including South Africa, including the BRICS members. And Iran has been already working with the BRICS in the past few years. And
well, let's talk then
this
about
is not something new.
Yeah. So let's talk about President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, because under his, when he was president, started the initiative to try and, to move forward on engagement with Africa. This was between 2005 and 2013. It didn't yield too much from there. How much is President Raisi expected to build on what he started and use BRICS as a platform for growth and expansion
well,
on the African
policy
continent?
of Ibrahim Raisi as a new president on the 13th government after the Islamic Revolution in Iran is to expand its relationship to the countries which they have got the same suffering from the dollar domination in the world. So the policy is to expand this relationship with all of these countries, as it has been always there. That's why they joined Shanghai Organization, for example. And this is another one which is going to give access to Iran to have to something like 50% of the world. When you have 50% of the world, what we are going to do with the other 50%? We have enough countries, enough nations which they want to deal with us, enough commodities which you can supply. So we don't have any limitation of buying things or selling things to at least 50% of the world.
That's quite formidable. And there was a unique development, Seyed Hoseini, in terms of rapprochement between yourself and Saudi Arabia, brokered by China. Did Iran ever think it was going to be a bedfellow with Saudi Arabia, given the history?
Well, we have to look at bin Salman, MBS, 5-6 years ago, 7 years ago, when he invaded Yemen, and Salman, which is now an experienced politician, who has learned from his mistakes in the past, who thought that without Iran I can do, who thought in 7 days I can occupy Yemen and I'll finish and I'll emerge as a victorious hero in the Arab world. But all of those dreams is now history. They have come to realization that without Iran, no one can do anything in the Middle East, including China, including Russia, including the rest of the world, because you are in the most strategic point in the world. So if that is the case, you have to deal with this Iran. You have to accept that there is a reality called Iran, that I have to come in terms with it. And that is not a simple issue. It's a long process that they have come to this realization after 8 years of the resistance by Yemenis and them attacking to Aramco, and overnight de-evaluation of Aramco by 3 missiles, 3 drones, which was probably about $20,000. Overnight, $500 billion damages has been imposed into Aramco, and American did not manage to do anything. So the Saudis realized, let us come in terms with Iran for us to be able to proceed.
So big, bold moves, Seyed Hoseini, and you're talking already, and it sounds like the country is so excited about how it's going to open up its borders and create new lines of cooperation, trade, and you know, increasingly improve the lot of Iran from an economic standpoint. How do you consolidate this new friendship with Saudi Arabia, this incredible opportunity to have a seat at the table at BRICS, with the criticism of Iran's human rights record? And everyone, of course, is talking about the death of Mahsa Amini just a year ago, who perished in detention in the custody of the country's morality police. We know that based on the reports we've seen, reportedly hundreds of other people's deaths were triggered by her passing. How does Iran reconcile the place in history and in the world that it wants to occupy now with its human rights track record?
Well, you know, I know, the rest of the world, all of them, they know that this human rights story, it's only a tool for the American and for the European to expand their policies, and they are selectively. No, they are selectively doing it. The same human right that you are talking about in Saudi Arabia, it's completely violated over 50 years from now. They killed Khashoggi in that condition, but still they can meet with this bin Salman. The women only now recently they have got the right to even drive and open a bank account.
That's fine, but let's take it back to Iran. It's not a figment of anyone's imagination that this has happened. It's documented and it happened. How is Iran going to reconcile those reports, that reality, with the you know, this new future that you want to embrace?
Well, Iran is lying in the population and the opinion of the majority of its country. And whatever the people of Iran is demanding from the government is going to do that. If Iran is dealing with hijab issue, there are thousands and millions of people comes to the streets demonstrating for hijab. So Iran feels that this is what the majority of the country wants.
Why don't just make it a free choice issue?
Well, they have, that is what the demand of the people is. When majority of people in Iran, they come, send you petitions, come in millions into the streets, they demanding the government for hijab to be legalized, to be, to be as a part of the legal system in Iran. The government has to follow the demand of the majority in Iran, because majority of the people are Muslims. They believe in Ahlul Bayt school of thought, and that's what they demanding from the government.
So the government is doing the house of the Prophet.
Exactly.
Thank you very much for talking to us tonight.
It was a pleasure, Iman.
We appreciate it. That was the Islamic Center for Africa Director, Seyed Hoseini. That's where I leave it. Thank you very much for being a part of our BRICS summit coverage as it draws to a close. A lot of agreements on the table. We've been discussing now the inclusion of Iran amongst 5 other nations who will form part of BRICS, and that goes live from the beginning of next year. It's been a pleasure having you with us.